Qiang Jin Jiu. Book 3, Drunk in Wild Songs. Chapter 199, Triumphant Return. As Yang Qiu left the yamen and stood under the eaves, he saw the commoners who were seeking refuge in the wind shelter. Finding it just his luck to come across them, he spat and ground it with his foot. "Are you people dead?" he said to the men in attendance. "Huo Lingyun may be ignorant, but are all of you too? The poor are like venereal diseases. It'll be too late to cry by the time they infect the yamen." The men behind him responded with fear and trepidation and hurried over to berate and drive the commoners away. Yang Qiu got on the carriage and closed his eyes to rest, fuming as he recalled the conversation in the yamen. Midway through his journey, his subordinate suddenly piped up through the curtain, "Chief, there's a message." Yang Qiu opened his eyes. "Tell me." "Old Fang the 10th has not returned to his residence at all," the subordinate said. He resorted to trickery to shake off the informer following him, then swapped out the carriage and made a beeline for the money vault. Yang Qiu promptly pulled the carriage curtain open and glared for a moment. Fearing that he had already lost the opportunity to get ahead on the others, he said, "Quick, gather our men." In less than an hour, the subordinate reported back that the Tse province garrison troops had attacked the city. The platoon commander had charged out with the blunderbuss in hand, but he had not even reached the garrison troops when the Jinyue, who had been lying in wait for a long time, broke his head with one clean, efficient twist. As the turn of events had been so unexpected and sudden, the city gates were not shut in time, and now the banners at the top of the city wall had all been set on fire. Yang Qiu's face turned deathly pale when he heard about the death of the platoon commander. Holding onto the carriage door, he looked towards the city walls, where he saw that there was indeed a raging fire against a backdrop of purplish clouds. The 4,000 men that Yang Qiu had brought along had filled in for half of the spots at the top of the city walls. At first, in order to have a hold over Huo Lingyun, he had arranged to place the fiercely strong men under his command there, too. Who would have known that they would be so easily killed by the garrison troops? Yang Qiu flew into a sudden rage. Is he out of his mind? What the heck he's defending the city for? It's not even my fucking city. Bring along your broadswords and head right over to the money vault. If you come across that old Fang cur, hack him to pieces. Once you're done loading the money and valuables into the chests, leave immediately." A flurry of footsteps resonated throughout the city as the bandits' boots trampled over the slurry of snow, sending the slush splattering over the legs of their pants and smearing it with streaks across the hems of their robes. Sounds of whistles fused into one. No one could tell who was who when the several gangs bumped into one another. Without so much as a word, all of them first drew their blades to cut the others down to the ground. Puddles and puddles of blood coagulated in the snow. The bandits were all frantic with anxiety as they hankered after the money vaults. When Yang Qiu barged into the money vault, he saw stacks upon stacks of treasure chests. He pried open the nearest chest, which was filled to the brim with dazzling gold. All at once, Yang Qiu was frozen in place, unable to move his feet an inch. He gathered them up into his bosom several times and wept with joy. King Yi really is rich. Shenzhequan had locked off the northwest of Zhongbo, and Yang Qiu was feeling quite suffocated from being boxed in. But now that he had gold, he would be able to bribe his way out of Shenzhequan's encirclement, even if that meant he had to drop a ton of money to do so. "Move them, quick." Yang Qiu stared fixedly at the gold in his arms. "Move them all onto the carriages." Yang Qiu's horse carriages were parked in the money vault's courtyard, but there were too many chests, and they were all exceedingly heavy. They had only moved half of the chests when Yang Qiu's fleets could no longer take more. However, he was unwilling to leave the rest of the chests behind, so he had his subordinates go and snatch more carriages. Having just arrived, old Fang the 10th got all anxious the moment he got off his horse carriage. Waving his handkerchief, he yelled, "Block him! Don't let him leave!" The door to the money vault was narrow. A great number of bandits, greedy as they were for money, had hidden the gold on them when they were inside moving the chests, only to be slashed to death by Yang Qiu when he found them out. He had already lost his mind and could not tolerate anyone fighting with him over the money. Just as they were moving the chests, Old Fang the 10th's fleet of horse carriages entered from the back and mixed in along with the other party's carriages, forming a jumbled mess that completely blocked off access to the courtyard door. Leading his men, Old Fang the 10th leaped his way across the carriages into the courtyard and hacked away at Yang Qiu's men whenever they encountered one. Yang Qiu's subordinates were all crowding in the spaces between the carriages, and with their hands full with the chests, they did not even have the chance to fight back. A slash of the blade, and they all toppled over to the ground, dead. Old Fang the 10th cursed, "Sneaky son of a bitch. Return the money." Wiping away the blood on his face, Yang Qiu kicked the money vault door open and charged in with blade in hand to hack away at the men. They slaughtered one another in this cramped and narrow space. Blood colored the chests a deep shade of red. The carriages at the back were still jostling against one another, knocking over the chests that had yet to be secured in place. Rocks tumbled all over the ground. "Rocks," someone shouted. "Why the fuck are these rocks?" Yang Qiu and Old Fang the 10th stopped at the same time and saw the rocks rolling on the grounds. Yang Qiu panicked. Not bothering with killing anymore, he turned and lunged at a horse carriage and smashed a chest open, only to see that it was all rocks inside too. Only a few chests on these dozen or so carriages contained gold, the rest were all rocks. Under the sound of chests being opened, Yang Qiu's legs went weak. He supported himself against the carriage, his eyes so bloodshot they were about to drip with blood. Old Fang the 10th looked all around in a fluster. "We been had." A carriage at the entrance of the courtyard suddenly moved as someone stomped it through the door. Following right after, the courtyard door banged shut. Liquid poured down from the top of the walls all around. A bandit who was close by took a sniff, and the color promptly drained from his face as he exclaimed in a panic, "Kerosene!" Smashed down the door. Old Fang the 10th clung onto the horse carriages and jostled his way to the entrance of the courtyard, where he yelled, "Quick, smash down the door!" Huo Lingyuan stepped on the snow at the top of the wall. The night was so freezing cold his hands had turned blue. Yang Qiu heard the sound of flint being struck and bellowed, "Huo Lingyuan, you son of a bitch!" Huo Lingyuan clutched a bunch of yellowish papers. These were all notices that King Yi posted outside the yamen. He set those nonsensical lies on fire and, under the glow of the licking flames, said with repulsion to Yang Qiu, "Go to hell." Trails of fire suddenly blazed forth and swept through the courtyard of the money vault like tempestuous waves. There were not only rocks in the chests but also flammable weeds. The waves of flames engulfed everyone, and Yang Qiu and Old Fang the 10th struggled in the blaze. They rolled on the ground, cursing Huo Lingyuan venomously amidst blood-curdling screams. Huo Lingyuan watched the raging fire. Like belated firecrackers, the sound of splitting and crackling flesh exhilarated him. He roared with laughter under the stench of charred flesh, his eyes equally bloodshot from having stayed up all night. "Burn! Burn these scums to death!" Power and influence were a bunch of crock. All he ever desired was for these people to pay with their lives. From King Yi to Kui Qing, and from Yang Qiu to Old Fang the 10th. Not a single one of them shall get away freely. Left with no means of escape, the bandits pounded on the wall with their arms and wailed in the raging fire. Kerosene got on them as they rolled about, and the inferno tore away their hair and burned them to an unrecognizable crisp. The flames made their way out of the compound, blazing all the way along the eaves of the houses and setting the whole of Fan province ablaze. Who's setting the city on fire? Yin Chang, who was carrying the platoon commander's head in hand, was in such a state of anxiety that he stomped his foot. The prefectural lord still has to pay out of his pocket for the damages after it's done burning. Fei Sheng wiped away the bloodstains and looked in the direction where the flames lit up the sky. Internal strife, huh? The city gates had been breached, and no one came to defend the city. Distracted and fatigued from shooting all those arrows, the Fan province soldiers defending the city did not even put up a decent attempt at resistance the moment they saw the platoon commander was dead. Fei Sheng returned to his senses and signaled with his eyes to the Jinyi Wei behind him to search the whole city and seize all the firearms. In the gap of time when Yin Chang was not cussing at others, he had a craving for wine, and he insisted on drinking 2 cups after the battle was fought and won. He scratched his cheeks with his empty hand and handed the still warm head to Fei Sheng as though he was giving him a gift. "Take him. Keep him well." Fei Sheng dodged out of the way to avoid the blood. "Why the hell are you always carrying him around?" Looking as though he treasured the thing, Yin Chang said with a cheeky laugh, "Heh, hand it over to the prefectural lord on returning as evidence for meritorious service rendered." Fei Sheng felt a chill run down his spine the moment he thought of that scene. Shenzhequan wore all white when he sat in the front hall. Push this bloody thing over, and he would have to die if a drop of the blood so much as splattered onto Shenzhequan's folding fan. He hurriedly took the head and, while Yin Chang was preoccupied drinking his wine, shoved it to a junior soldier and sent him out to bury it. ******. Sure enough, the Tse province garrison troops returned in triumph. Zhou Gui set up a welcome reception by the city gates to receive them. As encouragement for these new soldiers, he had the kitchen prepare a spread of roasted meat and grilled fish to let them eat their fill. While the soldiers stopped at the gates, the commanding general had to enter to meet the prefectural lord. Yin Chang did not even dare to take a sip of his wine today. He followed Fei Sheng into the residence. The door to the study was open, and Kong Ling and the rest were all waiting by the steps. Upon seeing them enter, Kong Ling immediately came forward to welcome them. "Elder Yin," Kong Ling smiled at Yin Chang. "A warrior's treasured blade truly never ages. Looks like you still have it in you." Yin Chang was on familiar terms with him. He craned his head to look in and asked softly, "Is the prefectural lord inside?" "Waiting for you." Kong Ling guided them up the steps. Aware that Yin Chang always went weak at the knees whenever he met officials, Kong Ling made a special effort to say to him, "The prefectural lord was the one who personally assigned you to this battle, so there's no need for me to tell you what that sentiment means. Just answer the questions his lordship asks of you later accordingly. Don't worry and just relax." Fei Sheng answered from the side. "I'll back Elder Yin, I won't let him blunder before his lordship." It would have been fine if they hadn't mentioned it. The moment they did, Yin Chang's legs turned into jelly. He placed his hands on the steps for support in a panic, scrambled to his feet with an "oh, my," and asked after Kong Ling, "What's his lordship gonna ask? What if I can't answer?" Kong Ling turned back and was just about to answer when Yin Chang's body odor, the result of not bathing for 2 months, hit him full on and made him so dizzy he could not continue the conversation. Earlier, he had been standing somewhere windy to receive them and so he did not notice the smell, but now that they were already standing right before the hanging screen, it was too late to withdraw. Kong Ling threw Fei Sheng a look. "Why didn't you remind Elder Yin to take a bath?" Fei Sheng felt suffocated with aggravation building up in his chest. He wanted to respond, "I told him to, but he wouldn't do it, so what was I supposed to do?" This crafty old man even had a ton of excuses at his disposal. What was that about winter being too cold and it was more practical to be dirty since they had to march the troops to war and the accumulation of dirt could keep them warm and prevent their feet from freezing in their sleep and all that hogwash. The hanging screen had already been lifted, so Kong Ling could only enter. Out of habit, Yin Chang lifted his leg to stride across the threshold, only to realize that this doorway had no threshold. With Yao Wenyu in a wheelchair, Shenzhequan had long gotten someone to tear down the thresholds inside and outside the residence. Yin Chang gently set his foot down and shuffled in. Shenzhequan had seen Yin Chang before, but it had been from a distance away. Previously, when the garrison troops had yet to be rebuilt, the imperial army was the one who fought against the bandits from Mount Luo. Later, during the period when the garrison troops were recruiting, Shenzhequan made several consecutive trips outdoors, so both men could more or less recognize the other. Shenzhequan was wearing a wide-sleeved robe over his regular robes today in a shade so white he looked ethereally pure and untainted. He sat in the master's seat and watched as Yin Chang entered. Kongling said, "Your lordship, this is..." Kongling had not even finished his words when Yin Chang fell to his knees on the ground. A series of thud, thud, thud rang out as the old man kowtowed repeatedly in Shenzhequan's direction. Things had all gone to the dogs, Fei Sheng thought as he kneeled to kowtow, too. Once he was done, he hurried to help Yin Chang up. But how would the advisors behind them know what was going on? They had only just entered when they saw those in front of them kneeling, and thinking that the prefectural lord was in a rage, they followed suit and kneeled, too. The atmosphere in the hall turned weird. The prefectural lord, suspected of being enraged, grasped his folding fan. The words he was about to say all but cut off by their kowtows. He floundered, for it wouldn't do for him to remain seated, and it wouldn't do for him to stand up either. Yao Wenyu was quick to react. He bent over from his wheelchair and spoke gently to Yin Chang before him. "Elder Yin headed into battle and narrowly escaped death, so it is not unusual for you to feel worked up upon seeing his lordship. But your return in triumph today is a joyful occasion, so let us not be so somber." From the side, Yao Wenyu's words appeared to be praising Shenzhequan's judicious selection of a general, which inspired such gratitude in the old general that he was moved to the point of tears. At the same time, he was also telling the advisors at the back that this pair of master and servant was on good terms with each other and that all was well between them. It was then Shenzhequan figured out what to say. "It has been hard advancing the army. Fei Sheng, help Elder Yin up. Gentlemen, please get up as well and sit as you would." Fei Sheng helped Yin Chang up, but how would Yin Chang dare to look at Shenzhequan? He exercised the caution he applied in battle and did not even dare to breathe too hard. Kongling was between laughter and tears. What had initially been a pretty relaxed atmosphere was destroyed by this one kneel of Yin Chang, and now everyone was finding it ill-advised to even smile. Fortunately, Shenzhequan had sway over the atmosphere in the hall. He lowered his voice and was much gentler than usual. He was in no rush as he asked Yin Chang about the food and clothing while on the move and the weather on their journey back. After a series of questions and answers, Yin Chang's answers flowed a lot more smoothly. It was then Shenzhequan cut to the chase. Fei Sheng had initially planned on covering it up, but Yin Chang's body odor was just too strong. It was not that big of a deal for the old man to skip bathing for 2 months, but having just returned from the battlefield, they were reeking all over from head to toe with the stench of blood, a stench which was presently being amplified by the heat within the hall. Sitting downwards of Kongling, Yu Xiaozhe was listening to the exchange when he suddenly caught a whiff of a certain odor. Distracted, he attempted to decipher the scent, thinking that it was similar to a mix of rancid rice and stinky feet, and yet it also resembled salted fish soaking in swill. It was a smell like he had never smelled before, a one-of-a-kind odor like nothing else. What's more, this odor, sharp and intense, was a force to behold. In no time, it pervaded the entire hall and lingered at such intensity that Fei Sheng, who had an acute sense of smell, near about fainted. Shenzhequan's expression remained unchanged throughout though. Anyone else could cover their noses with their sleeves, but not Shenzhequan. Yin Chang had fought the battle for him, so if he were to reveal any hint of disdain here, he would be hurting the old man's feelings. Moreover, in consideration of the earlier defeat, the rewards accorded to Yin Chang were not all that generous, at least on the surface. If Shenzhequan were to cover his nose, that would give those beneath him the guts to belittle Yin Chang. Unaware of what it was like around him due to his odor, Yin Chang gesticulated wildly as he told Shenzhequan about the blunderbuss in Fan province, his excitement increasing as he rambled on. Xiao Qi, who had been staying over at the Biwen military drill grounds for the past few days, was late to arrive. He had hurried over for the specific purpose of meeting this old man when he heard of the latter's return. Having made his way under the eaves, he did away with the briefing. Gu Jin was helping Xiao Qiye remove his coat when he took a sudden sniff and revealed a horrified expression. Seeing the change in Gu Jin's expression, Xiao Qiye asked in puzzlement, "What's wrong?" Before Gu Jin could respond, he heard a crashing sound from the hall, followed by Yu Xiaozhe's panicked voice. Why did he faint? Fei Sheng, having heard of Xiao Qiye's arrival, was worried that Xiao Qiye would also catch a whiff of the odor when he entered. After all, the person sitting here was Shen Zequan. He could not afford to shoulder the responsibility should something happen to Shen Zequan due to the stench. Yin Chang had fought a winning battle, so everyone would not blame the old man for sure. That meant that they could only settle the score with him, Lao Fei the 10th. It couldn't be helped. Who asked him to be the attendant officer? Everyone around them was close to getting overwhelmed by the stench. This was truly too gross an injustice for Fei Sheng. And so, he simply went the whole hog and made the first move to collapse and play dead before Shen Zequan. Shen Zequan immediately lifted his folding fan and put on the impressive air of a commander commanding his magnificent army. With calm and composure, he said, "Hurry, help him to the side hall and call for the physician to take a look at him. Elder Yin must be tired after the journey. Cheng Feng, send someone to prepare warm water for Elder Yin. Once Elder Yin has bathed and rested, we can start the banquet." The moment Yin Chang heard the mention of a bath, he just about jumped in alarm. "Your lordship, I don't." Xiao Qiye called out from outside, "Qiao Tianya." "Got it?" Qiao Tianya bent to enter and simply hoisted Yin Chang over his shoulder. As the old man struggled, he laughed, "Elder Yin, Happy New Year. Time for a bath now." The gentlemen in the hall were so relieved that they did not even need for Shen Zequan to say the word before they hurriedly stood up to open the windows. The rush of cool breeze across their faces felt so refreshing that everyone sucked in a deep breath all at the same time. End chapter. Qiang Jin Jiu. Book 3, Drunk in Wild Songs. Chapter 200, Banquet. No one could have expected that it would take Yin Chang nearly 4 hours to take a bath. All the gentlemen in the study waited until they were famished. Yu Xiaozhe glanced at the snacks on the table, his stomach growling incessantly. Yijing, Shen Zequan extracted himself from Tse province's affairs and said, "Dun province will serve as the supply camp when we mobilize troops to Duan province in the second month. Tantai who doesn't have a clue about the workings of the yamen, so you will still have to go over and keep an eye on things. I'll give you the authority to undertake inspection tours. If anything comes up, you can report directly to my desk without the need to go through the relay stations." Yu Xiaozhe was a chief surveillance bureau censor who could be considered a student of Sen Yu. In his early years, he had served as a touring censor and often carried out fieldwork in local areas. As such, he was very familiar with the ins and outs of the yamen. They were now establishing Dun province anew, and the general function staff that were assigned were newcomers selected by Tse province. Using them did not feel all that reassuring. Shen Zequan did not retain Yu Xiaozhe in Dun province as the investigating circuit. Instead, he gave him the authority to conduct inspection tours and report directly back to him. Although Yu Xiaozhe still did not have a definite official post, he carried a lot of authority. This was equivalent to the current surveillance commissioner in Zongbo, who held sway over the various prefectures and circuits' local administration assessments. Yu Xiaozhe hurriedly retracted his gaze from the snacks and rose to bow to Shen Zequan. "It hasn't been long since Dun province was newly established," Xiao Qiye said to Yu Xiaozhe as he sat beside Shen Zequan. As someone in a military post, Tantai who should not be interfering with the affairs of the yamen, but manpower is lacking in the various prefectures, so we are doing away with the taboos for the meanwhile. He's a tad obtuse in this area, so he will need you to advise him as much as you can when it comes to the major issues." Tantai who was a trusted subordinate of Xiao Qiye. Delegating him to a lower position in Dun province was because they needed him to fill in the vacant post of general in Zongbo. Getting him to guard Dun province could actually be considered as doing him an injustice, but with this layer of connection, no one in the Dun province Yamen would dare to defy Tan Taihu. By saying what he had, Xiao Qiye was actually backing Yu Xiaoze. Now that Yu Xiaoze had an appointment from Shenzhen to conduct inspections tours and make direct reports in addition to Xiao Qiye's words, he no longer had anyone to fear when he made his rounds in Dun province. It would also help his cause when he headed down to the other prefectures in the future. Yu Xiaoze was practically radiating with delight, but it would not do for him to be standing here and wear his heart too much on his sleeve, so he held his joy in check and bowed again to both of them. This humble subject will definitely do my best to live up to the prefectural lord and the second master's kindness. Yu Xiaoze's answer was loud and clear, but so was the response from his stomach, too. Their duet was so resounding that the study was stunned into silence. It's the celebratory banquet for the garrison troops tonight. Shenzhen saw it was already getting dark. So I shall not hold you gentlemen back. Let's start the feast. The feast was set up in the side hall. Initially, Shenzhen was supposed to be in the host seat, but Xiao Qiye was back now, and Yin Chang had still yet to show up, so he simply sat for a while as a gesture of appreciation before he took his leave. Most of those present were the advisors, and they did not dare to drink and let themselves go in Shenzhen's presence. With the prefectural lord gone for the night, they were a little more at ease. Qiao Tianya was not around, and with no one keeping an eye on him, Yao Wenyu was unable to turn down the warm invitations of the various advisors to drink up, so he took a few cups, too. Seeing him in a rare moment of relaxation, Qiao Tianya did not stride across the door but let down the hanging screen at the door and accompanied him under the eaves instead. Having found Qiao Tianya, Fei Sheng beckoned to him from afar and said across the fine snow, "Let's go. What are you standing here like a pole for? There's a table set up in the duty room too. Everyone's waiting for you." Qiao Tianya did not move. He looked a little unrestrained as he leaned against the doorpost. Has everything been arranged on master's end? Of course, they have to be. Fei Sheng walked over to Qiao Tianya and looked through the gap in the hanging screen. The various gentlemen tend to break up late, so you can still make it on time when you come around later. Besides, there are guards both on the inside and outside. Nothing bad will happen. Qiao Tianya thought for a moment and lifted the screen. Yao Wenyu looked over from the other side, as if he knew someone was here waiting. After a short pause, Qiao Tianya lowered the screen and said, "I still have a few jars of fine wine in my room. You can send someone to get them. Consider it a token of my apology to everyone." Fei Sheng stood still at the side for a moment before he merely said, "Who cares about those few jars of yours? How boring. Master has already released us from duty today, and yet you still keep yourself here." Having drunk a little, he was much more talkative than he usually was. "Master gave me the assignment to recruit newcomers a few days back. Do you know about it?" Qiao Tianya folded his arms and sized Fei Sheng up with his eyes. "Yeah." Fei Sheng raised a finger to point at himself before pointing at Qiao Tianya. Holding in a burp, he said, "Let me say a word in all honesty. We'll be building a cavalry in Duan province in the future. Master favors you the most, since you're pretty good at fighting after all. But look at you now, how did you come to this? You follow Yao Wenyu around as though you have forgotten where your roots are. If you go on like this, you will ruin your own future, sooner or later." Snow fell onto the hilt of Qiao Tianya's blade. He looked at the courtyard and said absent-mindedly, "This is where my future lies. You're worrying too much. The Grand Tutor gave you to master." Fei Sheng lowered his voice, disappointed with him for not living up to expectations. "The day master took you in, he also received Yang Shan Shui." Qiao Tianya once swore to be Shenzhen's blade. Courage, insight, temperament, skills, he did not lack any of them. Had he been willing, he could have been the kind of guard in Zhongbo like Zhao Hui and Chen Yang were. His future would be bright, with boundless prospects, and restoring his clan to its former glory would not be just a dream. But ever since he was assigned to Yao Wenyu's side, he had lost that desire. The tasks Shen Zequan had handed over to Fei Sheng to recruit new soldiers and accompany Yin Chang's troops to Fan province as the attendant officer were all assignments Jiao Tianya did not want. Jiao Tianya blew away the snowflakes drifting towards him and watched as the wind instantaneously swept them away into the pitch-black night, where they disappeared. He did not brush away the snow on his blade, nor did he answer Fei Sheng. Xiao Qiye removed his armor and wore just a single piece of unlined garment as he read Fei Sheng's report, which included the details of the deployment of troops to Fan province. To think that King Yi could even get his hands on the blunderbuss. His capability is astounding. 135 pieces. Shen Zequan shed off his wide-sleeved robe. They all come from the Chunquan battalion, and there are even numbers from the Ministry of War engraved on them. He's just a mere mountain bandit without a proper army. Xiao Qiye set his arms on the chair handles and watched as Shen Zequan undressed. Who supplied him with such valuable stuff? Shen Zequan's robe slid across the crooks of his arms and fell to the woolen rug. His regular robes had pearl clasps, which made a subtle pop sounds as he flicked them open. That fair, smooth nape of his promptly materialized. Shen Zequan covered it partially with his fingers, looking as though he was considering something. He was so unguarded in this relaxed moment. It was as if he would not resist even if he were to be pinned down onto the rug. Moreover, with his mind preoccupied with other matters, he appeared all the more seductive. It does not benefit Chu capital in any way for the firearms to be on the loose out there. It must have been stolen. The jut on Shen Zequan's throat would bob when he was speaking. Xiao Qiye gazed at it without so much as a change in expression. He was exceedingly familiar with it. Each time Shen Zequan dripped with perspiration, he had the habit of tilting his head up and exposing his neck. This was because Xiao Qiye was too tall. Even if Shen Zequan was lying on the bedding, he still had to meet Xiao Qiye's kisses in such a way. Xiao Qiye conjured up many scenes in his mind, but his expression was so composed and collected that he betrayed nothing of what he was thinking on the outside. His thumb was subconsciously caressing his thumb ring, rotating it gently. "Did Yin Chang bring back a captive?" he asked. "King Yi's male lover with the surname Huo." Chang Feng said that he's the son of Huo Qing, the former commander-in-chief of Deng province. Having spoken to this point, Shen Zequan looked at Xiao Qiye. "We can take a look at him tomorrow morning." "This person used firearms to scare Yin Chang into retreating," Xiao Qiye said. "Looks like he knows how to use it. Someone must have taught him." Shen Zequan undid the last of the pearl clasp, and when he released his hand, his regular robe slid to the ground. The beauty, finally comfortable now, kicked off the wooden clogs on his feet in passing. With his back to the dim light and narrow waist revealed, he was like the personification of gorgeousness who could not be contained by his clothes. Xiao Qiye tasted secret pleasure. This was just like foreplay between the two of them, not privy to others. His desire for Lanzhou gradually crept into his chest, filling it up. "Send a few pieces of firearms to Libei tomorrow morning. The military craftsman can draw up a blueprint from them." Harigo learned Yin Chang's formation on the sly back at the Biwen military drill grounds, and I couldn't counter his moves. When we mobilize troops to Duan province this time, I want Yin Chang to follow along. Xiao Qiye tossed Fei Sheng's report on the desk. Shen Zequan, who was holding up the tea to take a sip, glanced at Xiao Qiye upon hearing him and asked meaningfully, "Are you not taking me along?" "Sure," Xiao Qiye said frivolously as he faced Shen Zequan. "There's a ferocious tiger back at home who usually keeps a tight watch on me, so I can only fool around with you while the troops are on the march." Wickedness twinkled at the corners of Shen Zequan's upturned eyes. "Your wife is so fierce. I'm scared. Xiao Qiye imitated Shen Zequin's tone the last time, I'm fierce, too. I'm not afraid of you being fierce. Shen Zequin held up and pressed the folding fan between their lips. Like a fox from the legends, he said, but you only come over once in a blue moon. Xiao Qiye tilted his head slightly. What can I do? I'm but a henpecked husband who fears my wife. If it were me, Shen Zequin shifted away his folding fan and leaned close to Xiao Qiye's lips, where he softly said, I'll stay at home all day longing for you, making love to you under the sheets, stirring up a storm with you. Xiao Qiye kissed Shen Zequin, choking down those shameless words of his. He felt his way down but did not find Shen Zequin's tail. The light in the room dimmed a little, and the hanging drapes of the bed had long been let down. There was clearly no one else around, yet they both seemed to be having a clandestine affair. Both men rubbed up against the other, suppressing their gasps for breath. I want all of you, Xiao Qiye whispered. Shen Zequin was bitten to the point of tears. The side of his face chafed against the bedding. Under Xiao Qiye's gaze, he strained himself to look at Xiao Qiye with wet, glistening eyes and said in a fit of pique, You, greedy, cad. Xiao Qiye had spent nearly 2 months on the battlefields, and when he returned to Tse province, he stayed over at the Biwen military drill grounds. As he pinched Shen Zequin's chin now, he stared at him and whispered with a smile, You're absolutely right. Shen Zequin was taken possessed by Xiao Qiye. After such long a time, it felt completely different this time. The change in Xiao Qiye was exhibited on full display right here. He no longer let Shen Zequin off. The feeling of being invaded and possessed from top to bottom gave Shen Zequin the sensation that he had completely fallen, he was now Xiao Qiye's captive. His heartbeats. His voice. His breaths. Xiao Qiye wanted all of Shen Zequin, even as he dominated him. Shen Zequin could not endure it anymore. Sweat and tears interweaved. He could barely catch his breath now. Xiao Qiye even had to seize away tears he had yet to shed. Xiao Qiye once wanted the sky, the grasslands, and also the Hanjian mountains. He domesticated eagles and tamed horses, and he galloped among the vast lands in the dreams. But in the end, he no longer wanted them all. He wanted Shen Zequin. Shen Zequin began to cry. He raised his head, his expressive eyes glistening with waves of emotions. At the peak of his euphoria, he slurred, Ah! Yeah. Xiao Qiye thought he was afraid. But Shen Zequin lifted his chin slightly, his face flushed as he licked his lips wet. Oh, how I love you so. These words were both his madness and his solace, either of which could easily vanquish Xiao Qiye. The temptation that glistened in this pair of eyes was so much like that day in Dun province, when he had leaped from Fuxian Peak into Xiao Qiye's arms. The expressions in those eyes were just as equally crazed. Even without the blistering wind and raging fire, he was bad to the bone. For this, Xiao Qiye had feigned anger. At the same time, he was extraordinarily delighted. He had in his bosom, the one and only Shen Lanzhou in the world. Xiao Qiye bent down to kiss Shen Zequin, as though he was shackling him. He did not want Shen Zequin to leave him by even half an inch amidst the jolts, nor did he want Shen Zequin to break free of his hold amidst the gasps for breath. Every thrust went in deeper and harder, never lighter, making the bedding damp, and making Shen Zequin tremble. They went wild with abandon in the dimness, their sweats merging together into an expanse of dampness. There was nothing left but each other. The damp night stirred among the dappled shadows of the trees, and the bamboo blinds came to a silent rest. There was no one waiting in attendance on the veranda, so the whispered confidence in the room remained concealed within the hanging drapes. Bamboo tubes in the courtyard tilted, discharging cool water among the snowflakes and scouring over the frozen moss. Meng folded its wings and rested on the beam in the hallway. It tilted its head to listen for a moment, then tilted its head back into place and closed its eyes to sleep. Occasionally, the cause of a jackdaw rang out, but even that could not disturb the pair of lovers deep in the throes of their passion. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Yao Wenyu pillowed his head on Xiao Tianya's back. With some difficulty, he opened his eyes and looked at the overcast sky. The stars are right within reach. Rest up, Xiao Tianya said. There are no stars tonight. Light snow of the night caressed his face. Yao Wenyu reached out and grabbed at the empty air. The blend of the smell of wine on him and the aroma of medicine puffed onto the side of Xiao Tianya's ear as he suddenly spoke. What are you all red for? Xiao Tianya did not answer. What are you all hot for? Xiao Tianya still did not answer. Yao Wenyu bowed his head down and buried his face into the back of Xiao Tianya's shoulder. He mumbled, what good is this talent to me? Getting nowhere with these legs of mine, as unclear as the path ahead lies. With no lofty aspirations to speak of, a blessed man I am not. Xiao Tianya stepped across the thin snow with the solace of his boots making soft squeaking sounds. Yao Wenyu clapped his palm together in tandem with the sound of snow and murmured, since time immemorial, dead are the sages and men of virtues, only the reputation of the drinkers endures. Xiao Tianya felt his own nape getting wet. He knew that was not the snow melting, but even so, he said, the snow's getting in. Block it out for me, will you? End chapter. Qiang Jin Jiu. Book 3, Drunk in Wild Songs. Chapter 201, Intense Desire. Shenzhequan could not get up, the inside of his thighs were all covered with teeth marks. He slept with Xiao Qiye on top of him, pinning him down, until the third quarter of the hour of C. When Fei Sheng came to call him, Shenzhequan had still yet to wake. Xiao Qiye lowered his head to kiss him from behind, his kisses so intense that Shenzhequan near about lost his spirit. Please spare me, Shenzhequan strained himself to struggle before he eventually sprawled back onto the bedding. He narrowed his eyes and said to Xiao Qiye in a hoarse voice, mind's in a whirl, can't think at all. Shenzhequan was red everywhere. There were the bite marks, and then there were the pinch marks. His nape was the most piteous of all, having borne the brunt of it. Xiao Qiye's chest pressed against him, making him so hot that he was sweating. The most intense activity of all last night had been when he was sitting in an embrace within in Xiao Qiye's arms, with the crooks of his legs held down in place, and all he could do was to lean against Xiao Qiye's chest. Amidst the jolts and thrusts, Shenzhequan forgot all about the part about it being a clandestine affair as he cried out "Aye" and "Cen" repeatedly until he came, even wetting the bedding under him later as he lay prone on the pillow. He could not remember how many times they had done it. He only knew that his tears had run out. Towards the end, he was all dazed and dizzy, but Xiao Qiye was still not done. He continued to thrust into Shenzhequan, making him moan softly like he was begging for mercy. The way his moans trailed off tantalized Xiao Qiye right in the heart, causing such an insatiable itch that Xiao Qiye was stirred into biting him yet again. Poor thing. Xiao Qiye clung close to him and whispered, I'll hold you up. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Yin Chang got up early today and waited at the foot of the veranda to seek an audience with the prefectural lord. Fei Sheng saw the old man looking utterly uncomfortable as he glanced left and right. Fearing that he might make a fool of himself later, he said, You've already met him yesterday. Why are you still nervous? The icicles on the eaves had been cleared up to reveal just how distinguished the man in the room was. Yin Chang's feet were a little numb. He tugged at his sleeves and said, I feel uncomfortable everywhere. They rubbed me so hard with such big bars of soap when giving me a bath yesterday that my skin's about to get all wrinkly. Upon hearing this, Fei Sheng wanted to laugh. 7 or 8 young male servants were sent to attend to Yin Chang yesterday. They bathed him for a full 4 hours, and even changed out several big tubs of hot water. It was only in the middle of the night when everyone left the banquet that the old man made his escape, holding up the legs of his pants as he ran while evading the servants. Bathing is good, Fei Sheng said. You look spirited. I think you look just like my elder brother today. Don't fucking lie to me. Yin Chang did not have a good night's sleep. He murmured to Fei Sheng, "You lad, have a glib tongue." Having said that, he looked around furtively again. "Is the second master in the room, too?" Fei Sheng replied. "He rushed back just to meet you." "Then can I go to Libei?" Yin Chang hurriedly asked. "I'd like to meet General Liu." Fei Sheng was in a predicament. He did not know how to reply to him. Yin Chang's desire to see Liu Guangbai was only to be expected. That formation of his was adapted from the Bianjun Commandery garrison troops, but Libei was fighting a war at present, and the areas along the Hashi River were unstable, so how could Yin Chang run around as he pleased? As he was thinking about it, there were movements on the other side. "Let's see his lordship first," Fei Sheng said. "We'll talk about it again after meeting him." *******. A window was opened from inside to ventilate the room. The weather was not considered cold today, but Shenzhequan was especially sensitive to the chill, so he layered up with a coat. During the journey back, Fei Sheng had checked up on Huo Lingyun's background and reported it all in its entirety to Shenzhequan, regardless of the information's significance. Shenzhequan did not have the time to read it before sleeping the night before, so he looked through it carefully now. The firearms seized by Fei Sheng were handed over by Huo Lingyun himself. Shenzhequan turned the folding fan between his fingers around and rested it on the side of his hand. "This person is interesting, I do have to meet him." All that separated Xiao Qiye from Shenzhequan was a small table. With his arm propped up, Xiao Qiye looked a little playful, but the expression in his eyes was wicked. Just a glance over was an invasion. His eyes swept back and forth between the words male lover, bitten to death, and arson. He said, "He's quite remarkable." If Huo Lingyun had not thrown their plans into chaos with the firearms, Yin Chang would have been able to take down Fan province during his first battle, and he would not have given Shenzhequan the opportunity to even tell him to bring his own head on a platter to meet him. Afterward, Yin Chang employed the use of verbal provocation to launch an attack on the city, thereby stepping onto the battlefield for real this time. But Huo Lingyun's acts of arson diminished the battle in Fan province. With merits and demerits offsetting the other, Yin Chang's reward was once again reduced by half. Perhaps Huo Lingyun genuinely wanted to throw in his lot with Shenzhequan, but he did not use the most optimal strategy. Instead, he fought a battle with firearms with the intent of letting Shenzhequan know he was useful and even more valuable than the current commanding general of Tse province. People who climbed their way to the top by trampling over others were often difficult to deal with. Yao Wenyu was the first to enter while they were in the middle of their conversation. Kong Ling followed behind him, pushing his wheelchair, and finally, Yu Xiaoze stepped through. The various gentlemen bowed to Shenzhequan, who prompted them to take a seat. "It's so cold," Shenzhequan said to Yao Wenyu, "you should have asked Xiao Tianya to come over and drop me a note, and I would have shifted the meeting venue to your courtyard so that you wouldn't have to make the trip over here." Yao Wenyu did not sleep well the night before, and his eyes were slightly bloodshot. He had even brought his cat along today. "It's just a stone's throw away. There's no need to go to the extent of having your lordship put everyone to the trouble." I saw Elder Yin and Fei Sheng both waiting at the foot of the veranda. "Will you let them in for an audience now?" "Let them in," Shenzhequan said. "I've kept Elder Yin waiting for almost an hour." Fei Sheng led Yin Chang in to pay their respects to Shenzhequan and Xiao Qiye. No matter how worried he was about Yin Chang, he did not dare to glance over at this moment, lest the master noticed. Xiao Qiye looked at Yin Chang and asked, "Did Elder Yin sleep well last night?" This was the first time Yin Chang was meeting Xiao Qiye. He had not taken a good look yesterday, but now that he had a closer look. Heavens, he thought to himself, isn't the second master way too tall? His legs as he sat on the couch were almost as long as two of him. Yin Chang tensed up again. Wringing the hem of his clothes, he vaguely answered, "Not Not too bad. Elder Yin, take a seat, too. Shenzhequan was aware that Xiao Qiye was an imposing presence, and he did not come across as an easy one to get along with. Thus, he spoke to Yin Chang gently, "We will be discussing some military affairs with the various gentlemen today. With the troops soon to be deployed to Duan province, Fan province cannot be left unattended. Based on the report, Huo Lingyun is inextricably tied to this battle at Fan province. Kong Ling was familiar with Deng province. He could be considered to have come from a military family. His father was Huo Qing, the commander-in-chief of Deng province who repelled the bandits in the territory during the 6th year of the Xian era. The feud with Yang Qiu and the rest of Deng province's bandits was probably formed during that time. I have some impression of Huo Qing." Yu Xiaozhe picked up the thread of conversation after taking his seat. During the suppression of bandits in the 6th year of the Xian era, he submitted a memorial that could be considered a report of victory to the Ministry of War. However, in the next few years, the prefectural prefect of Deng province impeached him for being a headstrong and conceited commander who resorted to arms without due consideration, which in turn caused the bandits in the territory to seek revenge on the commoners, subsequently plunging Deng province into extreme misery. The Ministry of War deliberated over and over again before they finally did away with the notion to promote him. Shenzhequan got Fei Sheng to stand up as he addressed the gentleman. The local governments are a mixed group of people. From the time the Pan factions and Hua clan took over control of state power, the impeachments that came from the lower levels were a mess, with the majority of them arising from personal grudges. The procedures in which the cases were handled during the period of the Xian era can't be counted as valid, so this Huo Qing might not necessarily be a headstrong and conceited person at all. Shenzhequan was right. Apart from the reason for his dislike for Emperor Xian, it was true that both factions were as irreconcilable as ice and fire when they were in power. At that time, Chu capital depended on side-taking to distinguish between enemy and ally, and the dividing line within the local governments was even more rigid. So, a conclusion on whether Huo Qing's impeachment was legitimate could not be made based on just those few memorials. Huo Qing is Huo Qing. Huo Lingyun is Huo Lingyun. Xiao Qiye had now drawn a clear distinction between father and son. You people were the ones who detained him and escorted him back. What did you think of him during the journey? Yin Chang was an honest man with a one-track mind. Fei Sheng did not let the old man speak, but he could tell from Xiao Qiye's words that the second master did not like this Huo Lingyun. He did not like Huo Lingyun, either. Fei Sheng served Shenzhequan, and he would have plenty of opportunities to render meritorious service in the future when they established a light cavalry, but Yin Chang might not necessarily have the chance. The old man's hair and beard were all white now, and he only got to battle this one time after waiting for several years. But then, a male consort appeared out of nowhere and took most of the old man's credit with that bit of dirty, underhanded tricks of his. Fei Sheng was displeased deep down, but his expression was neutral as he said, "For the sake of revenge, this person could endure great hardships and steel himself to achieve his goals. He sure is something, and I respect him as a man. But when I arrived at the Fan province's yamen, I saw the furs of the mastiffs King Yi reared were all glossy. Only when I asked around did I found out that Huo Lingyun had fed King Yi and Kui Qing to the dogs. Since he has a feud with King Yi, why didn't he communicate with us earlier?" By bringing up Huo Lingyun's feeding of people to the dogs at this point in time, he was tactfully telling Shenzhequan in a roundabout way that it was hard for this person to be of great use. Contrary to Fei Sheng's expectations, Shenzhequan did not go along with it. Instead, he said after a moment's pause, "Since everyone is here now, call him over." Huo Lingyun had been in the prison for 2 days, and the wardens who delivered his meals to him never spoke to him. Fei Sheng took special care of him and tampered with his fetters and shackles so that it was much heavier than the usual ones that the others used. But he hardly moved around and merely remained in the same spot, as though he had countless never-ending thoughts on his mind. Huo Lingyun stepped into the courtyard, and Gu Jin sensed something amiss from the sound. With Ding Tao and Li Xiong in tow, he watched from under the eaves as Huo Lingyun walked past. "That's so heavy." Li Xiong pointed at Huo Lingyun's feet and said to Ding Tao, "It's the set of chains I wore. Seems to me he can move freely." Ding Tao told on Huo Lingyun to Gu Jin. "Jin Ji, he's trained in martial arts." He was far from just trained. Gu Jin lifted a finger and motioned to the guards hidden in the courtyard to be on the alert. He patted Ding Tao and Li Xiong on their backs and pushed the two children to a side, while he stood by the hanging screen himself and signaled to Qiao Tianya, who was on the other end, with his eyes. Qiao Tianya turned his head aside to stare at Huo Lingyun's back. He spoke in a deep voice, "He's a rather formidable one." Shen Zequan did not size Huo Lingyun up. However, Huo Lingyun did not shy away from sizing up Shen Zequan first. The prefectural lord was 22 years of age this year. He was a beautiful one, with the upturns of the corners of his eyes being just perfect as any higher, and they would give him a come-hither look. Even so, they looked like they were swimming in emotions at a quick glance. Yet, he was extraordinarily cold and detached. When he did look over, his gaze was chilling. He was an unfathomable one, a bottomless pit that looked all the more dangerous the longer you laid eyes on him. Huo Lingyun did not know if it was because Shen Zequan had been in a top position for a long time, but Shen Zequan had an overpowering air to him when he did not speak. Not the kind that came assaulting head-on in the face, but the kind that gradually grew ice-cold as it crept along your limbs to your heart. This was Shen Zequan. Since Shen Zequan did not open his mouth, the gentlemen present did not dare to speak. Silence momentarily reigned inside the room, making Huo Lingyun appear undaunted instead. Xiao Qi nudged his thumb ring. His posture remained unchanged, but his imposing aura was like a kick dealt to Huo Lingyun's face. He looked askance at Huo Lingyun with an air so oppressive that the other man almost could not lift his head. Shen Zequan was the precious jade Xiao Qi held between his fangs. Any sort of prying eyes must die before they ever get within a few steps of Shen Zequan. This was an affront to Xiao Qi, and he was now offended, even if the other party was perhaps only looking out of curiosity. The gentlemen in the room could hear nothing amiss, but they could sense that the second master was not very happy at the moment. Very subtly, the atmosphere began to grow heavy, so much that it crushed down on their chests for no rhyme or reason, suffocating them until they could not take deep breaths. "Your confession statements leave out some details." It was only at this moment that Shen Zequan looked at Huo Lingyun. "You reported the blunderbuss, but you didn't explain their origins. It's most pointless to say things halfway." As someone who had traversed both the overland and water routes, Huo Lingyun could figure out a little something from the expression in Xiao Qi's eyes. He retracted his gaze, and the shackles on his hands clanged. "Naturally, there are many matters that can only be discussed in person with the prefectural lord," he said with a calm expression. "If what you say makes me unhappy," Shen Zequan said with cool detachment, "there can only be one outcome, whether or not you get to see me in person. There will be the scorpions added to the Biancha cavalry in Duan province when Tse province's use of military forces in the second month." Huo Lingyun looked towards Xiao Qi without so much as a trace of fear. "Without Xiao Fangxiu, can the Libei armored cavalry still make it?" The break in the thumb ring stopped between the pulps of the fingers. Xiao Qi finally moved. He leaned over very slowly, and his shadow enveloped Huo Lingyun from top to bottom, forming a trail of a phantom wolf with an injured eye across the ground. Fei Sheng, who was standing at the side, swiftly dropped to one knee on the ground and lowered his head without uttering a sound. Beside him, Yin Chang felt the pricks of fear running down his back. With his heart thumping, the old man almost slid to the ground as he kneeled after Fei Sheng. Dead silence descended, inside and outside. Xiao Qi was angry. End chapter.